Sorry, I dropped out there. I sent a message and I didn't realise it was going to cancel my stream. So you will need to refresh. Sorry about that. You'll just need to refresh. I sent a message. I didn't realise it was going to cancel my stream because I'm using the Twitch mobile app. Right. Hey. Okay, so this is looking pretty good now, and I've broken down all the larger chunks, which can store excess liquid water. That can be a risk for botulism, so make sure those larger chunks are broken down and rendered properly. And it's very, very close now. So it didn't have napi. Napi is a product made from like fermented fish heads or something, and that normally goes in here. I use balachuang instead, which is a Thai shrimp paste, and that works pretty nice. So once we get to about this point, what we need is a splash of soy sauce, just a little bit, a splash of Chinese cooking wine. Normally I'll use white jiao, but today I'm using plum and dandelion wine made at home. Just a splash of that, probably a little bit too much, and then just a little bit of brown sugar. You don't want to make it sweet, just want to heighten the flavour. Just take that edge off the chili peppers. Maybe a little bit more sugar. We'll have a taste and see what it's like. So we need to stir all that through. The wine and the soy sauce and the sugar will, all three of them will also act as a preservative in this. We'll turn the heat up a little bit more, just to get that liquid out of it. So the main thing we're doing is extracting the liquid out of everything. Let's go a little bit higher. Alright, that's pretty well mixed through now. Let's give it a taste. I'm sure you want to see this bit, but this is the taste of the balachuang. Taste testing, the hardest bit, because the first bit of chili you're going to eat all day, and it normally knocks you around a bit. So let's see how it goes. I think that's pretty good, but I actually had a bit of sugar still on the spoon. So I'll try that again. Oh yeah, that's really good. That's a really good one. We've got a little bit further to go. You can see we're almost there before we put the liquids in. Now we've got to bring it back to there, and it should be done. You can see it's not really foaming like it was, because we have a liquid in there now. And I've pounded up all the larger bits to make sure it's more uniform in size, and those bits won't be a botulism risk. And what a difference in the colour. We've gone from mostly white with flakes of red to a deep red brownish colour, and that's almost very well preserved. So close. We lost a lot of those bubbles now because we got water in there, but once that starts foaming up again, they'll be ready to go. We'll put that in a container and we'll be laughing. That's a beautiful batch. That'll last me a couple of months, depending on how much. I'll probably hit it pretty hard actually at first, so there'll be maybe about that much gone in a week, and the rest of that over a couple of months. Just onto my neighbour. They've been giving me the fish, so I'll give some to them. Look at those colours. So we can put the soy sauce and that away now. We don't need that. I'm pretty happy with the flavour. Pretty happy with that. It's always better when you use fresh local fish. Always, no matter what you're making. Look at that. Those colours. Alright, I'm really close to taking that off now. I need a container to put it in. It's going to be hot, so I'll put it in a ceramic container to cool, and then I'll put it into a plastic container. We don't want hot oil in plastic containers because you destroy the plastic, or degrade the plastic, and it draws out the nasty chemicals that are in plastic. So we'll let it cool down in the ceramic and get started on some potatoes. We just need a few more minutes. I'll just turn that up a little bit because it's mostly rendered out. We just need to get that excess water that we put in from the wine and the soy. And that's our balachuang. So if you wanted, you could cover that. If you wanted a wet mix, this is about an intermediate mix, or a little bit on the drier side. You could make that covered in oil, and then you drizzle it out over your product, over your food. A more wet, sloppy mix. And there's a lot of adjustment in flavour too with that, using different seafoods and different ratios of garlic and chilies. Whether you use napi or balachuang, you can adjust it up a little bit. Just slightly different flavour profiles. Also on what kind of chilies you use, chili peppers. Sometimes they have different nuances in the flavour. Right, that's it. I'm going to turn that off. And there we have it, Burmese balachuang, ladies and gentlemen. I still call it Burmese balachuang because it was a Burmese girl that taught me. She was Burmese at the time. Now she would be from Myanmar. It was a long time ago. So this pan, I'll leave this pan dirty like this, and later on I'll make a fried rice in there, and it'll be Burmese fried rice, obviously. We'll put some turmeric and a few other things in there, and see if we get time with that. But we've got to get some potatoes on now. Come over here with me and get started on some potato. My family came home for lunch, my wife and daughter, and made a huge mess in my kitchen in the background while I was on mute. Wife came home early because my daughter's sick, and just need to readjust a few things. Right. Go. That's for my balachuang. Coffee. Okay, the nuances of potato. It's mostly all about differences of starch, carbohydrates, sugars. Higher starch potatoes are best for chipping and roasting. The starch goes nice and crunchy. A lower starch, higher sugar potato is basically only good for mash. You have to really focus if you want to make potato salad, because as soon as they are cooked, there's a very fine line between being just done and being a sloppy mess. I have a selection of potatoes here today. We have the famous Australian white potato, which used to be called a nadine. These things are literally the worst. You can't chip them, you can't roast. You can, but they always turn out soft and sloppy and black. Chipping and roasting is no good. So we'll get some of them on. I've got a couple of different pots here. I need a bowl. Peel them into the bowl. If you have small hands, you can peel the small potatoes. In my kitchen, if I have small potatoes to peel, I'll always get the smallest person with the smallest hands to peel them. The larger potatoes, the large hands, peel them. It's always so much harder to peel small potatoes with a big hand. And it's harder to peel big potatoes with a small hand. So, I'll be doing you a favour. Unless you've got average sized hands, then you peel all potatoes. Sucks to be you. Oops. Right, so I think 3 is good for mash on that. And then I'll do 2 as chipping. We can do them in the same pot. I couldn't get regular sized potatoes today. I could only get the baby potatoes, the small white ones. It's not really much good for me to show you a close-up of a potato. It doesn't really show you much when it's not cooked. Until we start getting to the waxy ones and the high starch ones. But the average ones are, you're not really going to notice much of a difference. So I make wedges out of these. You can improve your high sugar content potato for chipping and roasting if you soak them in a vinegar solution overnight. We put a spoonful of salt in the water just to improve temperatures and cooking, not to actually season. Okay, that's a Nadine. I'll get a label for that so I don't get mixed up. Where are my small labels going? Small labels, so I'll grab a pen. I need to actually turn that on. Small labels have plastic coating. Alright, we'll go for the big ones. Okay, Nadine. Nadines are on. This one is one of my favourites for chipping. I'll show you the difference. Delaware, these ones are a bit different, maybe it's seasonal. Normally they've got a pinkish kind of spot on the eye. I don't know what's going on with that. And this one's the Nadine. So you can see the skin's slightly different. These ones make great chipping, actually. I'll start with the blemished one. You can feel the difference in it. This one's a much more robust flesh. The other one's kind of soft and slippery. Let's put them side by side. It's a great difference in colour as well. Into a pot. Blemished ones first. 3. That should do it. Cut them into not too small chunks. If you're really in a rush, you can cut them into very small cubes and get it done a bit quicker. But you will get a better texture if you have a decent size. Do a few wedges. There's a couple of different ways you can do chipping. You can blanch them in oil, then cool them. You can blanch them in water, and then cool them. I like to do it in water first, and then I'll cool them, and then I'll blanch them in oil, and cool them again, and then cook them in the oil. And I'll show you why when we get to it. Okay, so that one's a Delaware. Delawares. Well, we didn't keep the peeled one to show you all together. Alright. This one is a tiger. Never used. A little too hot on the stove, I've got water coming over the pot. Never used the tiger before. And I didn't get my bags. Okay, so the tiger, I just didn't want to get them mixed up. Tiger is for chipping and roasting. The Delaware is for chipping and roasting, and the this one, what's it called again? Prince of Orange. It's a waxy one for potato salads. Alright, so we're up to tiger. Sarah, how you doing today? Hope you're doing great today. We have just finished the balachuang, and sorry, my stove is complaining. We just finished the balachuang, Wow, 2D Griffin, how you doing today? Hope you're doing great today. How's your stream? Thank you for the raid. So we just finished a balachuang. A little bit hard to see in this lighting. But that was fresh fish fillets chopped, garlic, chili, oil, rendered down until it's beautiful and crumbly and all the liquids removed from it. And then a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of Chinese cooking wine. I don't have any Chinese cooking wine at the moment, so I used homemade plum and dandelion wine. Just a splash, and then a very small hint of brown sugar. Just to soften that, take the edge off the chili peppers. So that's a Burmese condiment, and that we'll be making Myanmar fried rice with, or Burmese fried rice. At the time when I was taught how to do this, the lady that taught me, it was still Burma, so she was Burmese, and now she would be from Myanmar. So Burmese fried rice. And then we're up to some potatoes. We're doing tiger potato, Delaware potato, Nadine or Australian white potato, and Prince of Orange. So Nadine, or the Australian white potato, I regard as a next to worthless potato. I had this debate with someone in stream previously that the white potato is next to worthless, and I was challenged to do it on stream and show why I think it's worthless. So we've got them cooking. We're going to do chipping, mashed potato and potato salad. So we won't do any roast because, for one, I've got pork and beans in the oven already, and two, the chipping shows the properties of a roast anyway. If you've got good chipping, then it goes hand in hand with a good roasting potato. Sorry, my stove is acting up. Okay, so we have tiger. Again, if you're doing mashed potato, just keep it in larger chunks. Unless you're in a real rush to get them done faster, do them in smaller chunks, but larger chunks is fine. As long as they're not ginormous, you can get away with this size, halved. In a commercial kitchen, at work, I'll do something about this size. Saves a bit of time cutting. You've got other things to do while they're cooking on the stove anyway. And I'm going to cut these for chipping. Or wedging, if you like. Put them in the same pot because I can just take them out a bit earlier. This one is a tiger. I need some bowls to put them in. Particularly for the chipping ones, we need to cool them before they get fried. This one is a Prince of Orange potato. There's one I've never used before. I'll normally use a waxy potato for potato salad. One like a kipfler or a Dutch cream is really good. But this one's another waxy one. And the waxy ones are perfect for for potato salad. And other things like potato bakes, where you're not relying on the crunchy skin, you want the texture. It's a textural kind of thing. This has got a beautiful colour too. I might want to grow some of these ones. I've got a bad one here, so maybe put the bad ones in first. This came from a local grower. Watch out for that. We've got unwanted creatures in there. Schedule 1. Schedule 1 looks like fun. I don't think I'll be playing it though, but it does look like fun. I'm going to put that in the bin because I don't want unwanted creatures in my garden. So we won't be putting that in the compost. We'll go straight in the landfill. Actually, that whole thing I'm going to get rid of because it's got blemishes on it as well. So we'll get rid of that one. I said earlier that I will, in my kitchen, always get the smallest hands to peel the small potatoes and the largest hands to peel the largest. And if you've got medium-sized hands, sucks to be you because you'll be peeling the most potatoes. Makes it a lot easier if you peel potatoes that are the right size for your hand. Okay. Just got to keep your eye on these potatoes, the chipping potatoes. I like to boil my chipping potatoes, and when I'm doing super crunchy roast potato as well, because well, I'll show you when I get to it. So potato salad, we want even pieces. Make sure they're nice and even, because we want an even cooking time. Bite-sized pieces. Try and get them all around the same volume. Okay, waxy potatoes in your hop. A little bit of salt in the water just helps the temperatures. Cause the water to boil at a higher temperature and get better textures. So we'll do a couple of chipping out of that to demonstrate the chipping qualities of a waxy potato. Okay, they're all on. So let's do the side by side. Okay, I'm going to put them on to show you. Okay, so this one here, note these potatoes, the Tiger, the Delaware and the Prince of Orange are from a local farm, and the Australian White is from the supermarket. So this one here on this end is the Australian White. Then we have Delaware, which is Australian White I regard as next to useless. Delaware is good for chipping and roasting. The Tiger is good for chipping and roasting, so they're high carbohydrate and low sugars. The Nadine is a high sugar, so it won't chip and roast very well at all. And the Prince of Orange is a waxy potato, which is very good for salads. You get a beautiful texture off that. And that one I'm going to put in the bin because it's got the creatures in it. Okay. A little bit longer on that. I have some fried rice to make as well. Here's some preparation for that. So we want some egg. We're going to make the egg fried rice. My eggs all come from the garden, and often they're foraged and found in random places where my chickens decide to nest for the day. So sometimes we can get bad ones. Always crack it into a cup first to make sure it's good. Look at the colour of this shell. Look at the colour of that shell compared to a white one. They are Aracawana chicken. Aracawana chickens. They're a ferocious forager. Really great chicken for the garden. They flourish really hard, fiercely independent, and they look after themselves really well. I'm overboiling again and turning off my stove by accident. Okay. These Australian white potatoes are these are boiled for chipping. It's a bit hard to see on this. If you get that crumbly edge, that's what we're aiming for. We want to get it just done so they're falling apart, just so you get that crumble edge right before they turn to mush and right after they're basically done. So it's kind of, there's a very fine line between turning it to mush, ending up with potato soup, or getting it just right. So that crumbled edge when you're doing chipping is what you're looking for, and that there now needs to be cooled, so I'll put that in the freezer to cool that down. Got some room somewhere. Alright, let's check the next batch. The whole potatoes are still going. They need a little bit longer to cook. And the Delawares are still going, they're a lot more robust. Higher starch content. Take a little bit longer to cook through. So with the egg on the fried rice, we don't need to really whisk it. Just quickly give it a mix. And then we have bacon. Get rid of these. We want ginger. Ginger is here somewhere. There. Ginger. So, if you have a good sharp knife, the thinner you can slice your ginger, the more flavour you'll get out of it. Because the hard cells trap all the flavours in ginger. So get a nice sharp knife and cut it as thin as you can. You get more out of your ginger. And if you're not sure about sharpening a knife, check my VODs on YouTube. I've got raw VODs from my last stream, and I've got a knife sharpening masterclass on there. You'll be able to sharpen your knife till you can shave. I don't recommend shaving with your knife. Don't do that at home. So ginger. What else do we need? Garlic, ginger, vegetables. Some that I prepared earlier. And some bean sprouts. Peas here somewhere. A little bit of this. Whitebait. Really yummy. Don't be turned off by this one. This one's great. Obviously you don't need to put it in. Most of the things in the Burmese fried rice are optional. This is going in. I need a bowl for washing and defrosting. we're going for peas and corn. Frozen peas and corn's fine. I don't use any other frozen vegetables. But frozen peas and corn really hold their flavour and texture. Just a little bit of that. Here's a little trick for you. If you cut your bag like that, squeeze it together, twist it there, use this tag, tie it in a knot, and then you won't have peas all through your freezer. Okay, we need turmeric. Right here is a better example of the crumbly edge. I'm going to head to bed, 1 AM. Alright, 2D Griffin, thanks for dropping in and thanks for the raid. Hey, Selju's Gaming, how you doing today? Hope you're doing well today. So, this for chipping, alright? We've got crumbly edges here. Really crumbly edges. Oh, it's hot. Oops. See how crumbly that is? It's crumbled in the pot. But those edges, that's the crunchy bit. That's what we want. We want those crunchy edges. Alright? So that's the Delaware. I'll put them in the freezer. Put them on top of the ice cream, I'm not going to be in trouble. Nadine potatoes, almost ready for mashing. The tiger, and the orange, still got some time. Orange Prince. Okay, so our white bait, defrosting, egg, turmeric, that's what we've done. Obviously fresh turmeric will be the bomb. The fresh turmeric is amazing, but I'm using a turmeric, dry turmeric, which is fine, but this is a mix I use. It's probably 2 parts dry turmeric, 1 part Chinese allspice in there. So we want about a tablespoon of that. Check how much rice I've got. Yeah, about maybe 1.5 teaspoons. D Wild Frog. How you doing today? Hope you're doing great today, Frog. How was your stream? We're doing some potatoes for you, Frog. We're doing some potatoes. Look at this. This is Frog's request to do potatoes. Onions. Challenging Charlton. You're the man. I need to go and get some onions. So we use green onions for that. How goes me? I'm doing pretty good. We made some beautiful balachuang. which is a Myanmar condiment. It's hard to see in that light. So this was fresh fish this morning. It wasn't fresh this morning, it was frozen and whatever, but I filleted it, and so it's normally 1 part fish or seafood dried, 1 part chili peppers dried, 1 part garlic. You can adjust the ratio a little bit, and then you cook it down, cook it with some oil until it renders and turns into beautiful balachuang. So this is really spicy, fishy, garlicky mix. And then a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of Chinese cooking wine. I used homemade plum wine with dandelion, and then just a touch of sugar in there. So we made that earlier. I've got 4 pots of potatoes on the stove, which I need to keep my eye on. Because we're doing chipping, I have to be really careful. And these ones are a little bit, well, I would say just right. So I'll take these out. I've still got the potatoes in there for the mash and the potato salad. Now this potato I'm doing now is a tiger potato. It's a new variety I haven't used before, but it's reported to be good for chipping and roasting, which is what we want. Alright. So, for chipping, we want to boil them until they're just done. Alright? Until they're just overdone, actually. You can see this one's broken. You've got that crumbly edge, that's what we want. We want that crumbled edge. There. Just so it starts to crumble. And then that goes in the freezer to cool. It doesn't matter if you freeze it. It doesn't matter if you freeze it, as long as they're not stuck together. Steaming, what sauce are you? Old grandpa hands, old chef hands. So, as long as they're not all going to stick together with the water left on them, if you freeze them, it's fine. My first mashing potato is nearly ready. Second one a bit longer. Tiger's a bit longer. And the wax, ooh, the wax I think I'll get off. Yep. Because we want, it's imperative that we have a good solid texture with the waxing ones for the potato salad. So they're coming out now. Okay, and we have some crumbly edges on there. So those chipping ones can come out as well. I'll just need to sort them out because they're all together. And I'm going to do this in a bit of a hurry because I need to get these potatoes refreshed in cold water so they don't keep cooking. Because the potato salad potato is very important to get just the right amount of cooking done, and possibly I've done this a bit too far. So cold water. Make sure they cool down as quick as possible. These ones you can really see a good crumbly edge on that. And Frog, thank you for the hydrate. Where's my glass? There we go. Beautiful. So our Nadine for mashing should be ready. A little bit longer. It's important for mashing potato to, I'm just going to adjust this camera. I don't have an ideal tripod. It's important for mashing potato to get the potato really soft. If you don't make it really soft, you're going to get lumps. So if you've got lumpy potato, then you always know that you haven't cooked it enough. And the other thing with mashed potato is never ever leave the skin on the potato. It is a crime against humanity to make mashed potatoes with skin on. Remember that. Don't do it. These are still a bit warm, these ones, for the potato salad, so I'll put a bit more cold water in there. And check these other ones. A little bit longer. A little bit longer. Okay, now back to our fried rice. We've got some white bait here. Get some warmer water in that. This stuff is beautiful. Some people say this is a crime against humanity, but that white bait in your fried rice is amazing. And this is real traditional style with some white bait in there. It's important with your white bait you wash it pretty thoroughly because you get bits of sand in there. White bait, bits of sand, scales and whatnot, give them a really good thorough wash. Rinse again, rinse again. Alright, and then we've got some pork, a little bit of pork. Somewhere. There, here's some I prepared earlier. Anchovies, yeah. Anchovies without salt. They're not salted, cured. They're just fresh, frozen. Prepared this yesterday. This is a basic Chinese marinade. A little bit of cooking wine, a little bit of corn flour, a little bit of chicken booster, a little bit of Chinese cooking wine. Mix it up. A little bit of salt, just a little bit of salt if you want. Right, that mashed potato is very neat. I have to run outside and get some spring onion. There we go. When you're using spring onion, dish like this, you want to use the white and use that a little bit earlier on, and then use the green later. I don't have too much white on these because I cut them off below the ground so the plant can keep growing. So I don't often use the real base of the white. And then I have immature spring onions, basically like a chive. Okay, that's that. And my nadine should be ready. Or the white potato, I think just a little bit longer. I'm running out of water, so I'll just put some more water in there. A little bit longer for those potatoes. Okay, so that one, I'm going to use the white a little bit earlier. The green at the end. So tonight for dinner we're going to be eating pork and beans, which is in the oven, and the fried rice. A little bit of that. We call it spring onion here, but I think in the US it's called green onion or shallots even. Shallots are different to me. Shallots are French shallots, the small pinkish onion kind of deal. Okay, we are good to go with the fried rice. Just going to wash that fish again. And we need the potatoes to come off the stove because I don't have room for my wok. Okay, those white bait are now quadruple washed. Make sure there's no sand in there and minimal scales on the fish. The first thing I'll do is the bacon, because then I can get the fat off the bacon, render the fat off the bacon, which will help with the stir fry of the fried rice and also add the flavour. And also I need to remove some of the bacon for my potato salad. So I'll do that first, even though it'll have a little bit of a balachuang flavour because I've still got balachuang in the wok to make my fried rice. That's fine, no one's going to complain about that here. In another setting maybe, someone's allergic to shrimp or something, you don't want to do that. But I just need to get these potatoes off. Still a little bit longer. Those potatoes are cooling nicely. We also want some garlic in here. That's one thing I forgot. Good amount of garlic. It's pretty surprising the difference in the use of garlic in different cultures. In China, garlic normally will go in at the very end. Throw it in and toss it through, particularly in stir-fry veggies and other stir-fries. And basically it goes onto the plate next to raw. And you get that good hit of garlic flavour in there. In Thai and Indian cooking, I think it's normally right at the beginning and it cooks through. And most Western food will be right at the beginning and it cooks through as well. So this one goes in right at the beginning with your ginger. And we're going to chop it up a little bit. We don't want it too fine, we like to have a bit of texture in there. So that's pretty good like that. I think I can get this potato off now. So mashed potato, put it through a colander, let it drain, let it steam a little bit. You want to get some of that excess water out of it. A little bit longer on those. Okay, I'm going to move them across. And we'll get started on the fried rice. So, come on over here. Bird's eye view of the wok. Here we have a beautiful dirty wok. It is still coated in our gorgeous balachuang, which is what we want, and all that extra flavour. I think what I'm actually going to do is do the bacon separately, so because that might be just a little bit too much balachuang flavour in the potato salad. So we get a bit of bacon in there. Whenever I'm doing meats, I always keep the fat, render it, and use it for frying. It's a good way to save money. It's a good way to utilise the whole of the animal. One of the ways it honours the animal that you're using it all. And also, if you don't want to eat it, you can, if you have an oil burner or something, you can use it to burn, and it keeps you really warm in winter, or even cooking with the heat. So pop that in. This is pork fat from the pork that we're about to cook, and from I have pork and beans in the oven. Okay, I've got this pot, drained it, put the potatoes back in there. A little bit of salt. We don't have much at all because we're just doing a sample. So a little bit of salt. And when you're doing mashed potato, where did I put it? Yeah. When you do mashed potato, always use white pepper. Don't use black pepper. A little bit of white pepper. Be careful with it, it's spicy. You always use white pepper because you've got your colour in there. Black specks can turn some people off. Black's fine, flavour wise, and if you know you do it yourself, put black in, that's fine. Where's my masher? But reach for white first. Where's my masher? Lime. Turn my glasses on. Someone put it in the wrong drawer. I must be blind though. It should be in here. I don't know how much blood it does, which should be great right now. I'm a little bit behind because I can't find my masher. I'm sure I didn't just put it in the dishwasher. back of my dishwasher. The bacon's looking pretty nice now. Take that out in a minute. I need a large bowl. I'm going to put the whole lot in. Let's go for this one. Okay, running a bit behind schedule. We'll get these potatoes off. This one's a Delaware. This one's the Tiger chipping and roasting. I don't like being behind schedule. That means I've got to rush. The bacon's looking good. For my mash, I'm going to use olive oil. I've got extra virgin olive oil. You can use butter, milk, cream, either or all of the above if you get the right ratios. So, move this over here. Be generous with it. And you need to mash your potatoes while they're still hot. I'm a little bit behind schedule, so they're a bit raw for my liking. The Nadine, I find, is only really suited to do mash. If you're really ultra super careful, you can get a good cook on it to do a salad. You don't want to use a stick blender or any kind of machine to really hammer this because you'll turn it into glue. Glue or gloop. See, need another spoon. That's an acceptable mash. Maybe a little soft, maybe I put in just a little too much olive oil. I'm happy with that. That's the Nadine, the Australian white potato. Okay, Australian white, and then we have Delaware. When you drain your potatoes, there's a little bit of water at the bottom of your pot, sometimes more. Get rid of that. Potato back in there. Olive oil. salt, white pepper, and mash. Right, this bacon is looking good. Look at that bacon. Bring it up to the edge of your wok, drain the oil out of it. This ceramic dish I'm going to be using for the whole meal. So we'll have all of the fried rice in this in the end of the night. So let that drain on the side of the wok and then bring it out. Alright, let's get back to this over here. Note the method on which I mash. You drag it to the middle from the outside, and when you mash this shape like this, if you've got two bars, one on this side, one on this side, you want to do it this way. We do it this way because then it comes up through the holes, and then when you pull it this way, it falls off the side of the masher, and then you can bring it in like a rotation, a circle, and get that really well mashed. And again, if your potatoes aren't soft enough when you boil them, you're going to get lumps. That's the only time you'll get lumps, if you haven't cooked your potatoes long enough. Okay, and now tigers. Same thing, we're going to use the same recipe for all of them. Try and get the ratios the same, so we can demonstrate the texture. I'm not going to mash the waxy potatoes. Waxy potatoes come out kind of in between the starchy ones and the Australian white, Nadine. Okay, so there's my three mashed potatoes. Nadine, Delaware and Tiger. So Nadine is no good at all for roasting and chipping. It's okay for a mash. It still comes out pretty ordinary. And these two are amazing for chipping and roasting. And I'll show you a little trick. Glad wrap around your spoon, or sticky plastic, cling wrap, whatever you want to call it. You can make your fancy pants dinner. You can throw it around the kitchen. Okay, so this one, the Nadine, it's quite gooey textured. This one is the higher starch. So the Nadine has a higher sugar content, and this one has a higher starch carbohydrate content. You can see the difference is like more like a, to me, that's a much better mash. The same with this one. But that still makes a great mash. You'll still enjoy that as a mash. But I would much prefer this one on the plate as a mash. The textures and the starches, when you get it in your mouth, this one's quite soft and sloppy. This one's got a better, firmer texture. So that's where I'm at. Frog, mashed potatoes. Next, the waxy potato. Where did I put my spoon? And my towel. Everything's going missing, I must be getting tired. Yeah, towel. So the waxy potato is the premium potato for your potato salad. You can get waxy potato in the kifla, Dutch cream, or this one, which is a orange Prince of Orange. Becoming confused with something. Alright, Charlton, thanks for dropping in. Have a great day today. So, when you're doing a potato salad, you want it only just cooked. You need to have that firm texture, but obviously you need to have it cooked enough. So if I break that, it's just a little bit firm to break, and you can see it's kind of holding still. It hasn't gone all crumbly. And the texture when you eat it is definitely that little bit waxier. You mix that with bacon, mayonnaise, peas. That texture is amazing, and when you eat it as a potato salad, compared to the higher carbohydrate ones, the higher carbohydrate potato, you get a floury, really floury kind of texture in your mouth. Whereas this one, the waxy texture with the mayonnaise, it becomes quite luxurious rather than a floury kind of basic starch, which is amazing for your mash because you've mashed it all up and you've mixed it with your cream and your olive oil or whatever, and you want that kind of hit of starch. That's what the mash is for. That's what mashed potato is for that hit of starch. But the waxy potato salad is for appreciating the potato for it's a different kind of reason. It's a different it's a different culinary experience. So the waxy potato. So if you haven't eaten it, I definitely recommend go out, get some of this waxy potato, and munch on that. Cook it till it's only just done. Get some good mayonnaise, mix it through. Be generous with your mayonnaise. I've just got some whatever that my wife buys from the supermarket, and then so we want a handful of fried bacon in there, some peas, you can defrost them, saute them in some salt and pepper, that's a good amount of mayonnaise. Mix it in, see how it comes out. Let the peas and corn cool. Oh, you know what? I didn't drain it properly. It's as good as it's going to get. It's all starchy and sticky on the bottom. I wish I had drained it a bit better. I didn't put it through the colander. A little bit of colour. Bacon. Peas, corn, salt, pepper. Use cracked salt. I mean, cracked salt's fine, yes. I mean to say cracked pepper. Where did I put it? Cracked pepper is here somewhere. Here. Be generous with your cracked pepper, it's awesome. Not too generous if you've got kids that don't like pepper or people that are fussy with pepper, but generous with your cracked pepper in your potato salad. Yeah, look at that. My kids are going to smash this tomorrow for lunch. I'll put some bacon in there later. I've got some bacon I'll cook up and put in there. And look at that. I've got a good coating of mayonnaise on there. Yeah. Now that's the chicken. Perfect potato for potato salad. Waxy potato. Beautiful. Next, we're going to do some chipping. going to have a big job cleaning my kitchen tonight. It was nice and clean this morning when I got started. Okay, so it's my makeshift deep fryer. Today I'm using sunflower oil. And I'll let that drain. Go and get the other bottle. After I finish frying this, will go into my oil jug, and we use that for stir fries and frying other things. The stainless steel teapots are amazing for oil jugs. Leave them on the bench side, put your leftover oil in there if it's still good to cook. If it's no good to cook, put it in a ceramic or steel container and use it for burning. Or recycling, if you have recycling oil nearby. Okay, let's crank that up. Put that over on this side. We've got a few minutes before that heats up. Crank this up. Let's get some. Hey Johnny Neil, how you doing today? Hope you're doing great today. We are just finishing off the fried rice, and then we're going to get started on deep frying the chips. We've done mashed potato, balachuang, and the pork and beans, which are in the oven. Made an amazing batch of balachuang from fresh fish this morning. Spicy chili, garlic, rendered down, a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of cooking wine, excuse me, a little bit of just the smallest hint of sugar to take the edge off the chili peppers. And you can see the wok is still a bit dirty with the balachuang. We cooked it in the wok, and now we're going to do the fried rice in there because it's a Myanmar fried rice. We want that flavour in the Myanmar fried rice. So, where's my corn flour? Just got to let that oil heat up a bit. We've got some white bait, anchovies that aren't salted, washed thoroughly, very light coating of corn flour. Let's cook them up. Wok's a little bit hot. Wok's an amazing kitchen tool. You get some really good heat around the edges and tossing and things. It's very versatile. I use the wok more than I use the frying pan in my kitchen. We want to fry these up so they kind of got just a little bit of chew on them. You don't want to stir them up too much, break them up into bits. You want to kind of keep them a bit whole, have those little chunks in there. I love my anchovies as well. These ones are fresh from the next city. frozen, I mean, but they're fresh frozen. Now, I might have a little too much heat in there still. Turn that down a bit. They're looking pretty good, just about ready to come off. Bring them to the side and let them drain. And I'll go in with the bacon. I'm a bit hungry, so I'm snacking on the side. You don't want to stir it up too much because you'll break up the fish, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I want the larger bits, a bit of the textured fried rice. That's just about ready to come off. Now, my chipping potatoes, the first batch, Nadine's, they're cold now. We'll put them in the oil if the oil's hot. Yes, the oil's hot enough. We'll get them in and get them blanched in the oil. Oil's a little bit too hot. You want to do it on a lower heat. You want to do the first fry of chips on slightly lower heat. And not on a higher heat. So So I'll just let that cool a bit. Bring this to the side and let the oil drain from it. Next up, we have ginger and garlic. So we need a little bit more oil in here. Actually, no, I'll do the egg. So we need a bit more heat. Get nice and hot. We're not making scrambled egg. It's kind of a stir-fried egg. Can't really see there, can you? All right. Actually, throw it this way. Don't cool the wok down too much when you pour a cold egg in there. See these bits here is what we want. We want to kind of break it up. Break it into bits. We want fried egg, stir-fried egg, not scrambled egg. Try and drain it all out, but the egg you'll find will soak in a lot of the oil anyway. And it'll be in there. So we need more oil in there. Garlic and ginger. Drop those down. Still a little bit hot. We'll go with that. The first blanch on the boiled potatoes, we boil them first until they just start going crumbly on the edge. Right. This ginger and garlic can come out in a sec. The first blanch, we just want to get it kind of improve the edge of it. And this one, you can see the garlic starting to go brown. If you get much more than that, it's going to go bitter. And we don't want that. Get that out. As again, bring it to the edge and let it drain. All that goes in the bowl that we're going to put the fried rice in. These Nadines aren't looking too bad for Nadines. Maybe they're actually using a different variety for the white now. We'll see. Okay, so veggies. You know what, I forgot the pork. What happened to my wok? Lost temp. I was deep frying. Right. There's the first fry of the Nadines, the Australian white. They're not too bad. So they'll go in the chiller, we'll cool them down. You can freeze them as well. If you freeze them, you'll get a much crunchier chip. This one is the Delaware. The Delaware potato is going in the deep fry now. So when you boil your potatoes for chipping, you want that crumbly bit on the edge. That's what gives you the really crunchy bit. A little bit of the white onion. That's the white part of the green onion, not white onion. Got a huge mess here. That's enough for now. Get that out. If you have a really big wok and a lot of power in the energy behind it for heat, you can do the whole lot all in the wok. If you've got too much produce to cook in a small wok, do it in small bits like this. You have to do it in small bits, otherwise your wok is going to go cold and you end up just making stewed rice rather than fried rice. So got some pork here. I'll probably leave it at that. If this was going to be the main meal, I could really put some more in there, but it's going to be complement to the pork and beans. Only for the reason that there's already enough protein on the table. I lost my temp again because I didn't realise I accidentally turned off the stove. So she's a little bit cool. The deep fry is blanching nicely though, temperature's great. Cool down a bit. So here we have our fried rice, the beginnings of our fried rice. We've got the bacon, the fried whitebait, fried egg, the vegetables. There's a little bit of rice from left over yesterday that I put in. And I need more rice. So I just marinated this pork in some cooking wine, a little bit of corn flour, a little bit of soy sauce, and a little bit of chicken booster. Overnight, I'll help tenderise it and infuse it with a bit more flavour. It's a basic Chinese marinade. I obviously do a lot of Chinese cooking. My wife's Chinese and I love Chinese food. Something like that doesn't need to be 100% cooked because we're going to put it through again as well. Put it through again the rice. Right. We need to heat up. We need to hurry up because of that it's going to burn. Rice, high heat, a little bit more oil. We've got 1.5 teaspoons of 1 teaspoon of turmeric and half a teaspoon of Chinese allspice. And then we stir fry that until it's fluffy. Make sure it's not sticking to the pan and going black. You want to stir fry until it's fluffy, until the turmeric smell goes nice and nutty. Okay, the Delaware chips are ready to come out. That's the first blanch for the Delaware chips. So first they're boiled, and then they're blanched in oil, somewhere around 150 to 160 degrees Celsius. I think I need just a little bit more oil. Get these chips into the freezer. And now we've got the tiger chips to go in. It's a different type of potato. These ones are tiger. Oh, I've lost my temp on that. Right, these are starting to go fluffy and nutty. See how fluffy that is? And the smell of that. Smell of that turmeric. It's amazing. Everything goes in now. more rice in there. Some fish sauce. Use a good brand fish sauce. Don't use squid brand fish sauce or a cheap brand, all salt and no fish. Be pretty generous with it. You want to use the fish sauce as the source of salt. A little bit of soy. Whoops, that was too much. So that's another source of salt. Otherwise we don't put any salt in there. We just use fish sauce and soy sauce to salt it. And then our balachuang. We put a good hit of balachuang in there. That's going to spice it right up and get it really pungent and yummy. Get that in there. Oh yeah. Mix it in. So we've got the cooked white green onion in there. And then we throw in the... Oh, that smells amazing. And then we throw in the green or the spring onion, green onion in the US, shallots sometimes, not to be confused with the French shallot. Sometimes they call it shallot or echalot, but green onion is the simplest thing. There we go, look at that. That's it. Myanmar fried rice. Go light on the soy sauce? No, if you want more soy sauce, you add it in at the table. But what you want to do is get the salt right. I nailed it. So in a Myanmar fried rice, you could put sesame oil. I don't think I remember being taught originally to put sesame oil in it. It wouldn't hurt, you could put it in there. I think it's more Chinese style. There we go. That's to go on the dinner table tonight. The dish is a little bit large. But I realised as I was doing it that my kids probably won't eat it at school because they're fussy on the fish sauce. So I put a little bit less rice into it. There it is. Spam with fried rice. That's actually a popular one. It's a very popular one. And my kids go for that as well. And I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all myself. So there's Myanmar fried rice. Really yummy dish. I will definitely put more balachuang on that, on the table. It's a little bit mild, this batch of balachuang. I didn't grow as many chilies. Got lots in the freezer I could have used, but I kind of wanted to do a slightly milder batch. But I'll hit that with some more balachuang later on tonight when I have it for dinner. My chips are looking good. We're going to get them up. The first ones, the Australian whites, excuse me, should be about good for their second fry now. Ideally, you would freeze them and then deep fry them from frozen or from frozen, or you can defrost them a little bit, but you have to be really gentle with them if you defrost them because they start to break apart. These ones I probably overcooked just a little bit because they're broken apart a lot. They're coming up nice. I am just going to grab a snack because I'm a little bit hungry. Okay, they are good to come off. Blanched in the oil. They're coming up good. You can see how I slightly overcooked them, or I was a little bit rough with them and broke them up into bits. But never mind, those bits are the extra crunchy bits, and that's going to be awesome, extra crunchy. So that go in the freezer. And then I have the waxy one. The orange, Prince of Orange, which is the waxy one we used for the the potato salad. Just need to do a little bit of cleaning, get the place in order a little bit. they're coming up good. About a minute. Okay, I'll put them in the freezer now. They look great. Pop them in to cool. Times like these, I wish I had a kitchen hand. Okay, so I'll do some bacon now for my potato salad. Finish that off. Alright. And then we're going to finish off those chips. So let's get into these in. When the beans have chilled, they're not frozen yet, so they're not ideal. Turn the heat up on this. Why do I have 3? Check this off. we want a higher temperature for the chips. And peas and corn for the potato salad, because we can. Give my splash guard for the frying pan so we don't make a mess everywhere. Because we all know how messy frying bacon is. That'll just about do it for a potato salad. Put a little bit of pea and corn in there. And be generous with the black pepper. Always generous with black pepper in my potato salad. This will be hot enough now. That's the Australian white potato for chipping. It's not the best potato for chipping. That's what we're up to. Prefer bacon in the oven. I don't mind a bit of bacon in the oven. My oven's currently on 150 degrees Celsius or 300 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a little bit low to be doing bacon. Got pork and beans in there cooking away, and they'll be ready for dinner. I think these Australian white potatoes are going to make a liar out of me, because they're actually looking okay to chip. Sometimes that can happen because of environmental factors, if they grow to have less sugar. Sometimes it can happen if they've been sitting on the shelf for a long time and they utilise the sugar to stay alive in their natural process. Or maybe they've swapped the Australian white, maybe they've swapped the Nadine for the Australian white, which is actually a different potato variety altogether. But the point still stands that if you have a high sugar content potato, you're going to have a hard time roasting and chipping. Alright, they're pretty good. Turn them off. Let that cool a bit in the pan, and then I'll pop it in the salad. I don't know if you can see this here. These chips. Are beginning to float. When they're floating nicely, they're done. Alright, we have a chip connoisseur in the house who might emerge from her cocoon to taste my chippies. She might be listening, or she might have her headphones on and can't hear a thing. We'll see if she comes out in a minute to taste my chippies. I know she's not listening. It's pretty important to do the double blanching on your chips, otherwise you won't. There's no way you can get the crunchy outer. Otherwise, you'll just end up with soft potato, fried soft potato. The double blanching, the double frying, is the key point to making good chips and good crunchy fried anything. If you're doing crunchy fried chicken, do it on a slightly low temperature, let it cool a little bit, and then put it back in. You don't chill it all the way with chicken, you just let it cool slightly. Give it 5 minutes or something. Okay. A little bit of salt, they actually look pretty good. Look at that. Now, the crunch test. Not super crunchy. Still pretty yummy. I wouldn't turn my nose up at it. Fresh. I think maybe they go soft earlier because they are a little bit darker than the other ones. Okay, this one is my Delaware potato. This is my preferred home chipping potato. It's easy to get hold of in my area and it chips really well. So I'll go and see if we get a thumbs up with these from my daughter. Okay, the result on those, yummy. Thumbs up, but soft, which is pretty much what I said. Let's see how these ones come. Get this. Let's cool them up. Into potato salad. Now let's see how the potato salad fares on the potato connoisseur hiding in a cave. I couldn't get much out of her except for it's yummy. But these waxy potatoes, this is a Prince of Orange. You always use a waxy potato for your potato salad. I'll use a kifla or a Dutch cream or this one. Really waxy potatoes make amazing potato salads, and this one's no exception. You get with the mayonnaise, match it with the waxy potato in there, you get amazing texture and a really good potato salad experience. So I'll put that in the fridge and they can have that for lunch tomorrow or dinner tonight if they prefer. Now the Delaware chips, they're looking mighty fine. We'll compare them side by side. Yeah, she's in her pyjamas. She came home sick from school today. She's not feeling too well, so she's had a shower early and just gone into bedroom with potatoes, with potatoes and pyjamas. You only ever had cold potato salad. That was a cold potato salad. I refreshed it in cold water and then I put mayonnaise through it. It was probably about room temperature. It's in the fridge now, so it'll be cold tomorrow. And yes, I will go for the cold potato salad. But my wife, funnily enough, she would prefer it hot. And it's really weird. But I don't mind it. I don't really mind, especially if there's cheese put in it. If it's a bit warmer, it's quite nice. Right, so here are the Delaware chips. And they're looking amazing. We've got some really good crunchy bits on there. A little bit of salt. Look at that. Compare it to the Nadines, which are soft and, well, by now they're pretty soft. These ones, let's have a go at that crunch test. That's a whole lot more crunchier, and the inner texture still got that soft chippiness to it. Really yummy. Right, I'm going to get the expert's opinion. But before I go, I'm going to put in the tiger potatoes. I got thumbs up with that one. This one's much nicer. It's crunchy on the outside, still soft in the middle. This one's soft, which is still the reason why I won't use a Nadine for chipping or roasting. It just ends up soft all the time. These ones, look at that crunch. You don't get any better than that crunch. And that's why I overboil my potatoes when I chip them, because you get those little broken bits on the side. That's the crunch. That's the amazing bit when you're making home cut chips. You need to very slightly overcook them so you get that rough edge. Otherwise, you don't have the you don't have that premium chip. And that crunchy bit, that's the premium bit. Now these ones are looking pretty good. Maybe not quite as crunchy as the Delaware. I've always regarded the Delaware as a more premium chipping spud, so that would make sense. Make pasta salad a lot to snack on. We don't really have it that much. Occasionally my wife will make it for the kids. They'll complain about eating too much rice or something and they want something different, and she'll do that. But no, we don't really eat that much. Sometimes for school it's pretty handy for school though. The kids love it at school, so that works. And I'll have that one tomorrow, unless I eat it all tonight. My son is due home any minute now, so he can have a blast. He'll come home and the dog will be barking, and he'll be very keen to eat some chippies when he gets home. And then the two of them will come out and munch all of these. These are just about ready. The smaller ones, you can see, the smaller ones are floating, the larger ones are still sinking at the bottom. So when we're doing a chip, we want to kind of get a balance of, if the majority of them are all small, we want to get them just right and forget about the really big ones. And the other way around, if the majority of them are really big, we want to get them just right and forget about the small ones. And I think we've got a good majority there. Small ones are all good. The big ones are still sunken a little bit, but they're enough to be done. That's kind of relatively same as the Delaware. Relatively the same. You can't really tell much of a difference except the way I've cooked and broken these ones down. Let's do the crunch test. Probably about this size, the average of the other ones I did. I think that was a little bit crunchier. Compare it to the Australian white, which is still really soft. The Delaware's still got hard bits, crunchy bits. It's been a few minutes now, so we'll get the expert's opinion on that one. In the meantime, I'll put the waxy potato in, and we'll see how they go. I've never used a waxy potato for chipping before. I have used them for roasting. More of a bake actually than a roast for that texture. I'll go and check with the expert. So this one, the Tiger, the consensus for this one is it's like flaky and more crispy than crunchy. So it's kind of more brittle and not quite as robust texture as the Delaware. To be honest, I can't tell the difference between those two. She might have just got one that wasn't quite cooked the same. They're yummy. Really yummy. I put labels on my stove so I could remember which potato was which. Now they don't want to come off. Alright, these are just about done. The waxing potatoes actually seem like, so far, a decent contender for chipping. They look good. They look the part. Do I make my own mayo? I would like to, but I don't. I do make my own mayo a lot of work, but at home we just get store-bought stuff. It's a bit finicky because you've got to get a front door. So that's my son, Kyle, announcing my son is home. And what was I saying? Oh, the mayonnaise, if you make it at home, it'll often split early. And if you make a batch to last you, say, a few weeks, if it's not used, then it all goes in the bin. And it's not really worthwhile. You make really small batches, fine, but it's not really a super easy job. It's not hard, but it's most of the time it's just not really worthwhile unless you want to make a really specific kind of deal. So this one is the waxy potato. Let's get the consensus on this. We didn't get a crunch test. That's about as crunchy, but my daughter's here and I want to get her opinion on it before I voice mine, because I might give her some bias. Right, my daughter said exactly the same thing as what I was thinking. When they cook through, they taste like they're overdone. They got a higher sugar content, the waxiness in them it kind of definitely feels like it's kind of slightly overdone. So that's my four chipping chips. The Australian white, which was soft and no good, and luckily these didn't go black, so they were lower in sugar. The Delaware, which was amazing. The Tiger, which was amazing. And the waxy potato, which is definitely not very good for chipping at all, or roasting. It definitely does taste overcooked, even though it looks darker, but that's only because the colour of the actual flesh was darker as well. So I'm going to bowl these all up, and the kids can smash on these, and then we'll finish up. Here you go. 2 minutes. All right. I need some water after all those chips. Any chance to get Kyle on stream? Of course. Where's Kyle? I had that request last time as well. Come on, dog. What are you doing? Come say hello. Come on, dog. Yeah. What are you doing there? Where you going? Hey? What are you doing? Are you ready? You ready? Where you gonna go? Hey? He seems to be a little bit anxious about that. Must be because I'm talking loud or something, and he's actually been pretty quiet all day sitting in the lounge room. He's probably not used to me talking so loud in the house and doing stuff, and he's he's a little bit worried about that. Alright, so we did all the mash. We got, if you're interested to see again, this one was the Australian white, which is kind of yellow. This one's a Delaware, which is a really good starchy mashed potato. I use olive oil in my mashed potato. And this one's a Tiger. I didn't mash the waxy one. The waxy one does make a decent mash. But I wanted to keep it like that. We can see the different potatoes here, peeled. So we have Australian white, Delaware, Tiger, and a Prince of Orange, waxy one, which unpeeled looks like this. The lighting's a little blemish. Yeah. All the 4 potatoes I worked with today. There's another one that we have in Australia. There's actually another 2. We've got a Ruby Lou, or this one's a Baby Blue. This one's also excellent for mashing, chipping and roasting. And then we have the Ruby Lou, which is a pinky kind of colour. It's a bit more like this. And that one's also good for mashing, roasting and chipping. Let's have a look at the pork and beans. Oh, look at that. This one. I haven't got anywhere I can really put that, so I can't touch that. It's going to burn me. The problem about having a hot pan in the oven is that you're going to grab the handle instinctively and burn yourself, which I've done many times before. Look at that. Can't see it. Can't see it. The lighting's all wrong. It's pretty nice though. That's really yummy, and the smell on that. Let's check those beans are done. Soak the beans overnight. You always need to soak your beans overnight. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's really good. So you have to soak your beans overnight because the enzymes on the bean. Any legume, dry legumes, peas, beans, lentils, that sort of thing, you need to soak them overnight. And preferably, if you can, sprout them, even just a little bit. And then what that does is it destroys the enzyme in there which preserves the bean and keeps the bean and legume dormant. So it'll destroy that enzyme and allow the bean or the legume to start growing. And that enzyme actually causes a lot of digestion problems. It inhibits the digestions of foods in your stomach for a start, and it can also create a lot of gas. So you really need to soak your dry beans overnight, and then if you can, sprout them, even if they just sort of crack open is enough. These ones I didn't, I just soaked them overnight, which is enough. And another thing is, the bean, like a kidney bean, if you put dry kidney beans in a slow cooker and just turn them on and let them just slow cook without coming to the boil, you can increase that enzyme in there, and it can actually lead to death. That the red kidney beans are really high in that chemical, and when it's at the right temperature, it can kill you. So what you need to do with red kidney beans, if you want to slow cook them, is to make sure you bring it to the boil and boil it for a couple of minutes, and then put it in the slow cooker, because that begins the process of destroying that chemical, which can kill you. And some people have died in the past of doing that, putting red kidney beans in a slow cooker and not bringing it to the boil first, and just cook them, and then eat them, and then say goodbye. So it is pretty wild. Another thing about beans and legumes, nearly all legumes have a chemical in them that restricts your blood flow. So I say to my kids, make sure you cook that or your arms and legs will fall off. Because if you eat a lot of those foods that restrict your blood flow, it's going to stop the blood flow getting to your fingers and your toes and all your extremities. And in absolute extreme cases, your arms and legs can fall off because they don't get blood to them and they just die and fall off. But back in the old days, there was problems like that. There was ergo poisoning, which is common in barley and wheat if the weather conditions are just right. I think it's a long, wet summer and then a long, wet winter or something, and then the ergo grows on the wheat and the barley and can cause that condition where your extremities don't get blood to them. And if you look up ergo poisoning, the medieval art of ergo poisoning, and look up real medieval pictures of ergo poisoning, it's wild. What you find blows you away. So anyway, that's it for me. I'm going to prepare for dinner, get the kitchen cleaned up, get that dog happy again. He's gone off to hide again. And organise all these potatoes I've got and the starches that I've got. And thank you everyone for dropping in. And Frog, thank you for the raid. Who else raided? Frog and 2D Griffin, thank you so much for the raids. Whatever you're up to today, have fun and take care. I'll probably see you later on tonight for a little bit of Hitman. We'll go and see about how we're going to kill them tonight. Alright, ciao for now. Bye bye.